Ratchet and Clank is quite possibly one of the most beautiful games on the PlayStation 4. In a time where current generation consoles are cluttered with realistic shooters and action games, we get something entirely new that shows you don't have to be realistic to be beautiful. In many ways, Ratchet and Clank for PS4 is what Knack tried to be, a fun comedic platformer for the modern age, but this time it nails it perfectly. Ratchet and Clank has you follow the story of two unlikely friends that go from zero to hero. Think Star Wars: A New Hope, for example. Together, Ratchet and Clank take on the evil chairman who's trying to create a new planet out of other people's planets, for his own people's sake, the Blarg. The Blarg's planet is quickly becoming uninhabitable due to their own pollution, and now they're trying to put the lives of others at stake in order to improve their own. The entire game is told from the perspective of Captain Quark, a narcissistic superhero who's telling the story to a fellow inmate in jail. You constantly hear him narrate your actions as you play the game, oftentimes embellishing the truth to either sound more epic or for his own personal gain. Either way, the hilarious fourth wall breaking and self-aware writing is very enjoyable.
They're making a game based on a holofilm based on my life? But they haven't even consulted me!
The main campaign will take you about 10 hours to beat, maybe 15 if you go back and collect every single thing. This new Ratchet and Clank game for PS4 is a reimagining of the PlayStation 2 game, made to follow the new upcoming Ratchet and Clank movie, with literal scenes from the movie replacing some cutscenes in the game. Now, even though it follows the movie, you still see a lot of similarities with the original game. And because I know some people will ask, no, this isn't a complete one-to-one remake of the original game. You'll actually see some new collectibles and new planets to visit. Now, in terms of gameplay, you'll be traveling from world to world, completing mandatory objectives to continue on the main campaign. Sometimes you'll be treated to optional missions that could earn you new extras or new weapons for your journey. Each planet in itself feels very unique. The worlds all look completely different, and it's not all entirely platforming. Oftentimes you'll actually use your gadgets to change up the gameplay, whether it's jumping into a dogfight in the sky or racing your first ever hoverboard race. These differences in the gameplay only increase as you unlock new gadgets like the jetpack, for example, that lets you further explore worlds by reaching areas you couldn't before. Now, like I mentioned before, the two big differences with this new game are the visuals and the writing being based on the movie. Visually, this game looks like you're playing an animated movie. The way the light hits the characters and the environment looks completely stunning. Pan across the skybox and see the amazing view distance of this lively world. It's so impressive, and it only gets more impressive when you jump into some fights. Sure, the PS4's power makes the game look really beautiful, but where it really shines is in its absurd amount of particle effects. Just like the original game, whenever you destroy an enemy, nuts and bolts will actually fall out of them and magnetically get drawn towards Ratchet. Now, on top of that, you have a bunch of weapons in your arsenal and enemies to fight with that, when they combine together, just create a giant fireworks show of particle effects. I should mention that sometimes this will also cause a slight frame rate drop depending on what the situation is, but it's also expected with just how much is actually going on at once. But it never actually felt so terrible that it made me want to stop playing the game. Instead, I'm actually pretty hooked with the campaign. You see, one of the most captivating parts of this game, and pretty much any Insomniac game, is the crazy library of weapons you get to use. Take, for example, the Pixelizer gun. This gun turns any enemy into pixels, allowing you to then follow up with the wrench attack to break them apart into individual pixels. Then we have quite possibly the funniest weapon in the game, the Groovatron, that shoots a disco ball and suddenly all the enemies on the screen start dancing. It's absolutely hilarious and fun to see. These weapons were all my hook to the game, aside from the comedic value of the story. Now, as you play the game, you will unlock new weapons and gadgets that let you access locked sections of previous levels, so you can actually go back and replay certain levels and access new parts of those levels that you couldn't before. Oftentimes when you do this, you'll actually find a new item or weapon to use in your game. You can also upgrade your weapons with modifications that, for example, can increase their ammo capacity, make them stronger, or increase their hit range. Additionally, your weapons level up on their own the more you use them, so the game encouraged me to switch up my arsenal just to see what each weapon could evolve into. Overall, Ratchet and Clank was a great time. Sure, the story isn't too extraordinary or too in-depth, and that can be partially blamed by the fact that this game was made to be a tie-in with the upcoming movie, yet it still tries to recreate specific scenes from the original game that most likely aren't in the new movie. That's pretty much the only part where this game falls a bit. But with that said, what Ratchet and Clank really is a love letter to those days where gaming was not a monopoly of shooters, but 3D platformers, and seeing Ratchet and Clank in the modern age shows that the genre is just as good as it was before. It gives me hope that maybe other series will get the same treatment in the future. But until then, for $40, you really can't go wrong owning this game. Thank you all very much for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, share it with your friends. It really does help me out and it helps the channel grow, so I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions about the game you need to have answered before you pick it up, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer what I can. Once again, thank you all very much for being some awesome viewers, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
I promise. Thanks for your help.
No problem. See you in the next reboot.